The Minnesota Vikings made a painful decision involving a fan favorite, while signing another defender for Brian Flores' unit. At the same time, a blockbuster trade proposal emerged involving a disgruntled player with strong ties to Minnesota's coaching staff. Meanwhile, an alarming projection increased the pressure ahead of Week 1. And finally, a promising defender is already being compared to two of the National Football League's greatest legends. The Minnesota Vikings are officially adding cornerback Trey Hawkins III. But the move comes at the expense of former fan favorite Dwight Nudie McGlothern Jr. KPRC2 reporter Aaron Wilson revealed on August 25th that Minnesota was signing Hawkins after the defensive back worked out for the organization one day earlier. The rapid move gives defensive coordinator Brian Flores another long, athletic cornerback who could fit the aggressive and versatile system he has built in Minnesota. Hawkins stands 6'3" and entered the National Football League as a sixth-round selection by the New York Giants in the 2023 draft. The Giants selected him with the 209th overall pick, and he appeared in 20 career games with 4 starts during his time in New York. Hawkins has recorded 45 total tackles, 3 pass breakups, and 1 interception. He spent the 2025 season with the Washington Commanders, but appeared in only 1 regular season game, logging 2 snaps on special teams. Hawkins had previously been waived during final roster cuts before joining Washington's practice squad and later signing a futures contract. A hamstring injury eventually led the Commanders to waive him, but his physical tools remain intriguing. During his pro day at Old Dominion, Hawkins ran the 40-yard dash in 4.39 seconds, giving Minnesota a rare combination of size and speed to evaluate. His special teams experience could also become important because a reserve cornerback normally must contribute beyond defensive snaps to earn a position on the final roster. However, Minnesota created space for Hawkins by waiving McGlothern with an injured designation. The 24-year-old cornerback entered the league as an undrafted free agent and became popular with fans after earning a place on the Vikings' 53-man roster in each of the previous 2 seasons. Alec Lewis of The Athletic reported that McGlothern struggled during the spring, which resulted in fewer opportunities and made the decision less surprising. Still, the injured designation indicates that his health also played a role. McGlothern will now pass through waivers. If no other team claims him, he will return to Minnesota's injured reserve, where the Vikings could eventually release him through an injury settlement. After that process, he would become free to sign elsewhere, although league rules would require him to wait 3 additional weeks beyond the settlement date before potentially returning to Minnesota. The Vikings are therefore not simply exchanging one developmental cornerback for another. They are moving away from a player who previously earned the coaching staff's trust and taking a chance on a bigger, faster defender with experience in both New York and Washington. Hawkins must now prove that his physical advantages can translate into dependable coverage and special teams production before Minnesota completes its final roster decisions. A growing contract dispute involving Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback Joey Porter Jr. has created an intriguing trade discussion for the Minnesota Vikings. Porter wants to become the highest-paid cornerback in the National Football League, but ESPN reporter Brooke Pryor revealed that Pittsburgh and the 26-year-old defender have reached an impasse. Porter remains on the physically unable to perform list, and the Steelers traditionally refuse to negotiate contracts once the regular season begins. Despite the approaching deadline, Pryor reported that the 2 sides have made no meaningful progress toward an extension. She also made it clear that Pittsburgh has neither placed nor received any trade calls involving Porter, meaning there is currently no evidence of active negotiations with Minnesota or any other team. Still, the worsening situation has encouraged speculation about organizations that could eventually express interest, and the Vikings appear to be a logical possibility. Porter has the size, physicality, and coverage ability to fit Brian Flores' aggressive defensive scheme. Minnesota defensive backs coach Gerald Alexander also worked in Pittsburgh during the 2023 and 2025 seasons, giving him direct familiarity with Porter and potentially helping the Vikings evaluate whether the cornerback would fit their locker room. Kyle Joudry of Vikings territory suggested that Minnesota could become an attractive destination if both teams find acceptable compensation. Any deal would require the Vikings to surrender draft capital and then give Porter a lucrative long-term contract, creating substantial financial risk. However, The need for a new agreement could also reduce Pittsburgh's leverage and lower the trade price. New general manager Nolan Teasley has not led Minnesota long enough to establish clear tendencies, but his background with the Seattle Seahawks could make Porter especially appealing. Seattle has historically valued big, long, and physical cornerbacks, and Porter matches that profile. Rookie Charles Demings also possesses similar physical characteristics and has shown promise during training camp, but he remains an unproven fifth-round selection. The Vikings must also consider that Byron Murphy Jr. and Isaiah Rodgers are not under contract beyond the 2026 season, leaving Minnesota without a long-term cornerstone at cornerback. The larger decision depends on how close Teasley believes the Vikings are to competing for a Super Bowl. Minnesota finished 14-3 only one season ago, and may believe Kyler Murray can solve the quarterback problem that prevented the team from maintaining that success. If the organization views itself as one elite defender away from becoming a serious championship contender, Porter could represent the aggressive move that completes Flores' secondary. If Minnesota expects a rebuilding period soon, sacrificing premium picks and committing enormous money to one cornerback would be difficult to justify. Porter remains a speculative target rather than an available player, but his contract standoff has created a situation the Vikings may need to monitor closely. The Minnesota Vikings will begin the 2026 season with two divisional games that could immediately shape their position in the National Football Conference North. Minnesota hosts the Green Bay Packers in Week 1 before facing the Chicago Bears in Week 2. The Vikings cannot secure the division during those opening games, but consecutive losses would leave them 0-2 against two direct rivals and create a difficult early deficit. That possibility looks even more concerning after ESPN Analytics gave Minnesota only a 10% chance of winning the National Football Conference North, the lowest probability among all four teams in the division. The projection comes despite the Vikings replacing J.J. McCarthy with veteran Kyler Murray as their starting quarterback. Murray will become Kevin O'Connell's fourth different Week 1 starter in 5 seasons, continuing the instability Minnesota has experienced at the position. ESPN noted that Murray has averaged 6.6 yards per passing attempt since 2022, only slightly below McCarthy's 6.7-yard average last season. Still, Murray brings extensive National Football League experience. During his career with the Arizona Cardinals, he produced a 92.2 passer rating while throwing for 20,460 yards, 121 touchdowns, and 60 interceptions across 87 games. One issue Minnesota must correct before the opener involves the exchange between Murray and center Blake Brandel. Their chemistry when snapping the football remains a work in progress, and O'Connell acknowledged on August 19th that the team has limited time to eliminate the problem. The head coach explained that Murray and Brandel need repeated practice opportunities to lock in the necessary technique, especially as Minnesota introduces new concepts that place different demands on the center. O'Connell praised Brandel's overall training camp, but emphasized that quarterback center mistakes cannot remain a recurring issue. A mishandled snap can destroy a possession before the play develops, making the exchange one of the most basic but critical details of the offense. Former National Football League head coach and current ESPN analyst Herm Edwards also offered Murray direct advice about succeeding in Minnesota. Edwards believes the quarterback does not need to carry the entire offense because the Vikings already have outstanding playmakers in Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones. Instead of trying to create everything with his legs, Murray should operate from the pocket, distribute the football quickly, and trust O'Connell's system. That approach could reduce unnecessary pressure on him while allowing Minnesota's established weapons to control games. The Vikings enter the season facing a discouraging projection, but the first 2 weeks will give them an immediate opportunity to challenge it. If Murray protects the football, develops a clean exchange with Brandel, and efficiently uses the talent around him, Minnesota can begin changing the outside perception. If those details remain unresolved, however, the Packers and Bears could quickly turn a 10% forecast into an even more serious problem. Rookie defensive tackle Dominique Orange is rapidly becoming one of the most encouraging stories of the Minnesota Vikings preseason. Orange was not the organization's highest selected defensive tackle in the 2026 draft, but the third-round pick has significantly outperformed first-round selection Caleb Banks through 2 preseason games. His combination of size, strength, and disruptive ability has already inspired comparisons to some of the most dominant interior defenders in National Football League history. Following Minnesota's 13-3 loss against the Baltimore Ravens, Phil Mackey of SKOL North described Orange as a lighter version of Vince Wilfork and compared his potential role in Brian Flores' defense to former Vikings star Pat Williams. Wilfork won 2 Super Bowls and earned 5 All-Pro selections during his career, while Williams helped Minnesota finish with the National Football League's top-ranked rushing defense in 3 consecutive seasons, from 2006 through 2008. Those are enormous expectations for a 22-year-old rookie, but Orange has earned attention since the beginning of training camp. Third-round selections rarely receive immediate opportunities with the first-team defense. Yet, Minnesota placed Orange against established starters early, and he consistently demonstrated that he could handle the challenge. Jason Harmon of Vikings on Sports Illustrated also connected Orange and Banks to Minnesota's famous Williams Wall, the powerful defensive tackle partnership of Pat Williams and 6-time Pro Bowler Kevin Williams. That combination controlled the middle of Minnesota's defense from 2005 through 2010, suffocating opposing running games while creating opportunities for pass rushers, such as Jared Allen. Flores would undoubtedly welcome a similar impact from his 2 young defensive tackles, although Orange currently appears much closer to earning a meaningful role than Banks. If his first 2 preseason appearances reflect what he can produce during the regular season, Orange could immediately strengthen a Vikings defense that ranked 21st against the run last year. Minnesota may replace him with faster interior defenders on obvious third downs, but that is common for traditional nose tackles and does not reduce his value on early downs. Flores has also shown surprising confidence in Orange's versatility. The defensive coordinator experimented with dropping the massive rookie into coverage, where Orange came within inches of breaking up a pass. His presence may even have contributed to the Baltimore receiver failing to complete the catch. Orange still needs time before anyone can fairly place him beside Wilfork, Pat Williams, or Kevin Williams, and 2 preseason games cannot guarantee long-term success. However, his early performance suggests that Minnesota may have found tremendous value in the 3rd round. While Banks develops under the pressure attached to being the 18th overall pick, Orange is building his reputation through immediate production. If he continues controlling blockers and disrupting rushing lanes, Big Citrus could become a central piece of Flores' defense much sooner than anyone expected. The Vikings are making difficult decisions as the regular season approaches. Trey Hawkins has arrived, while Dwight McGlothern faces an uncertain future, and Joey Porter Jr. has emerged as a fascinating but expensive potential trade target. Minnesota must also overcome a discouraging divisional projection and correct the exchange between Kyler Murray and Blake Brandel. Meanwhile, Dominique Orange is giving Brian Flores an unexpected force in the middle of the defense. Should the Vikings pursue Porter or protect their draft picks? Leave your opinion in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for the next Minnesota Vikings update. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.